Hello, my beloved, and welcome to Chosen One Focus. I'm truly grateful you're here today, because I don't believe you clicked on this video by accident. Sometimes, the right message finds us exactly when we're ready to hear it. So before you do anything else, take a deep breath, leave the noise of the world behind for a few moments, and give yourself permission to listen with an open heart. Have you ever noticed that the way people treat you has quietly changed? The same people who once ignored you now seem to watch you more carefully. Conversations suddenly become awkward when you walk into the room. Some people avoid eye contact, while others smile at your face but speak differently when you're gone. You may have wondered, what changed? The answer might surprise you. Perhaps it wasn't them who changed first, it was you. Growth has a strange way of revealing itself. It doesn't arrive with applause or loud announcements. It begins in silence. It is built through lonely nights, difficult lessons, unanswered prayers, and moments when you felt like giving up but chose to keep going anyway. While others were focused on your past, something greater was taking place within you. Your perspective matured. Your patience deepened. Your faith became stronger. Without realizing it, you stopped chasing approval and started walking with purpose. Today's message isn't about creating fear or making you believe everyone is against you. It's about helping you understand why your quiet transformation is impossible for some people to ignore. We'll uncover how wisdom changes the way you respond, why true strength is often misunderstood, and why the people who underestimated you may now be seeing you through completely different eyes. Stay with me until the very end, because each part of this journey builds on the one before it, and by the time we finish, you'll understand why your greatest power has never been found in proving yourself to others. It has always been found in becoming the person God has been shaping you to be all along. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something you couldn't explain? No one said anything directly, yet the atmosphere seemed different. Conversations became shorter. A few people suddenly stopped talking. Others looked at you for a moment and then quickly looked away. At first, you might think you're imagining it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. But deep inside, you know something has changed. The question is, what? Most people assume that when others begin acting differently, it's because of something they've done. But sometimes, the real reason has nothing to do with your actions. Sometimes people change because they notice a change in you before you notice it in yourself. Growth is strange like that. It rarely announces its arrival. It doesn't knock on your door and tell you you've become wiser. It happens quietly, one lesson at a time. One disappointment teaches patience. One betrayal teaches discernment. One unanswered prayer teaches trust. One difficult season teaches endurance. Before long, you're no longer reacting to life the way you used to. You begin thinking before speaking. You stop chasing people who don't value your presence. You stop wasting energy trying to convince everyone to understand your heart. Without realizing it, you've become someone who carries peace instead of pressure. Imagine watching the sunrise after a long night. The darkness doesn't disappear in a single moment. It slowly fades as light quietly spreads across the horizon. No one hears the sun rise. There is no loud announcement. Yet within minutes, everything looks different. The roads are the same. The mountains haven't moved. The trees haven't changed their place. The only difference is the light. That's exactly what personal growth looks like. Your surroundings may remain the same, but because you've changed internally, you begin seeing everything through clearer eyes. There's a simple truth that says, when your vision changes, your world changes. The circumstances around you may not immediately improve, but your ability to handle them becomes stronger. Problems that once stole your peace no longer control your emotions. Opinions that once made you question yourself begin to lose their power. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift in perspective changes everything. People notice this, even if they can't explain it. They may not understand why your presence feels different, but they can sense it. They notice that you no longer rush to defend yourself. They see that you're less interested in arguments and more interested in understanding. They realize that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to have confidence. And because this version of you is unfamiliar, it naturally captures their attention. Think about a river flowing through a valley. It doesn't stop every few feet to argue with the rocks in its path. It simply keeps moving. Over time, that gentle flow shapes the landscape itself. The rocks that once seemed impossible to move are gradually worn smooth, not because the river fought them, but because it remained consistent. Your life works the same way. Quiet consistency will always accomplish more than loud reactions. You may wonder why some people suddenly seem uncomfortable around you. It's not because you've become proud or distant. It's because you've become harder to influence. In the past, criticism may have discouraged you. Rejection may have shaken your confidence. The need for approval may have controlled your decisions. But now you've learned something priceless. Not everyone has to understand your journey for it to have value. That realization gives you a kind of freedom that many people never experience. There's another powerful saying worth remembering: the tree that bears the most fruit doesn't make the most noise. Real maturity isn't loud. It doesn't seek constant recognition. It doesn't need applause to keep growing. It continues developing its roots even when no one is paying attention. And when the season changes, the fruit speaks for itself. So if you've been sensing that people are treating you differently, don't rush to assume the worst. Instead, ask yourself an honest question: have I changed? Perhaps your peace has become stronger than your fear. Perhaps your faith has become greater than your doubts. Perhaps you've stopped living for acceptance and started living with purpose. If that's true, then what you're experiencing isn't something to fear, it's evidence that your transformation is becoming visible. The most remarkable part of this journey is that you don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. Genuine transformation always reveals itself naturally. The people around you will notice it through your actions, your decisions, your patience, and your peace. Long before they hear your words, they'll see the difference in the way you live. And that's the kind of change that no one can ignore. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something you couldn't explain? No one said anything directly, yet the atmosphere seemed different. Conversations became shorter. A few people suddenly stopped talking. Others looked at you for a moment and then quickly looked away. At first, you might think you're imagining it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. But deep inside, you know something has changed. The question is, what? Most people assume that when others begin acting differently, it's because of something they've done. But sometimes, the real reason has nothing to do with your actions. Sometimes people change because they notice a change in you before you notice it in yourself. Growth is strange like that. It rarely announces its arrival. It doesn't knock on your door and tell you you've become wiser. It happens quietly, one lesson at a time. One disappointment teaches patience. One betrayal teaches discernment. One unanswered prayer teaches trust. One difficult season teaches endurance. Before long, you're no longer reacting to life the way you used to. You begin thinking before speaking. You stop chasing people who don't value your presence. You stop wasting energy trying to convince everyone to understand your heart. Without realizing it, you've become someone who carries peace instead of pressure. Imagine watching the sunrise after a long night. The darkness doesn't disappear in a single moment. It slowly fades as light quietly spreads across the horizon. No one hears the sun rise. There is no loud announcement. Yet within minutes, everything looks different. The roads are the same. The mountains haven't moved. The trees haven't changed their place. The only difference is the light. That's exactly what personal growth looks like. Your surroundings may remain the same, but because you've changed internally, you begin seeing everything through clearer eyes. There's a simple truth that says, when your vision changes, your world changes. The circumstances around you may not immediately improve, but your ability to handle them becomes stronger. Problems that once stole your peace no longer control your emotions. Opinions that once made you question yourself begin to lose their power. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift in perspective changes everything. People notice this, even if they can't explain it. They may not understand why your presence feels different, but they can sense it. They notice that you no longer rush to defend yourself. They see that you're less interested in arguments and more interested in understanding. They realize that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to have confidence. And because this version of you is unfamiliar, it naturally captures their attention. Think about a river flowing through a valley. It doesn't stop every few feet to argue with the rocks in its path. It simply keeps moving. Over time, that gentle flow shapes the landscape itself. The rocks that once seemed impossible to move are gradually worn smooth, not because the river fought them, but because it remained consistent. Your life works the same way. Quiet consistency will always accomplish more than loud reactions. You may wonder why some people suddenly seem uncomfortable around you. It's not because you've become proud or distant. It's because you've become harder to influence. In the past, criticism may have discouraged you. Rejection may have shaken your confidence. The need for approval may have controlled your decisions. But now you've learned something priceless. Not everyone has to understand your journey for it to have value. That realization gives you a kind of freedom that many people never experience. There's another powerful saying worth remembering: the tree that bears the most fruit doesn't make the most noise. Real maturity isn't loud. It doesn't seek constant recognition. It doesn't need applause to keep growing. It continues developing its roots even when no one is paying attention. And when the season changes, the fruit speaks for itself. So if you've been sensing that people are treating you differently, don't rush to assume the worst. Instead, ask yourself an honest question: have I changed? Perhaps your peace has become stronger than your fear. Perhaps your faith has become greater than your doubts. Perhaps you've stopped living for acceptance and started living with purpose. If that's true, then what you're experiencing isn't something to fear, it's evidence that your transformation is becoming visible. The most remarkable part of this journey is that you don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. Genuine transformation always reveals itself naturally. The people around you will notice it through your actions, your decisions, your patience, and your peace. Long before they hear your words, they'll see the difference in the way you live. And that's the kind of change that no one can ignore. There comes a point in your journey when you begin to see people differently, not because they have changed overnight, but because your eyes have finally opened. You start noticing the difference between those who genuinely celebrate your growth and those who only support you when you remain small. At first, this realization can be painful. You may wonder why certain relationships feel different or why some people become distant as you grow. But the truth is, growth has a way of revealing what was always there. It doesn't create people's character, it exposes it. Think about a seed planted beneath the soil. While it remains hidden, no one pays much attention to it. But the moment it begins to break through the ground, everyone can see it. Some admire its growth. Others step on it without thinking. The seed didn't change its purpose, it simply became visible. In the same way, when your confidence begins to grow, people reveal who they truly are. Some will encourage you to keep reaching higher, while others will quietly hope you stay exactly where you are. One of the greatest mistakes we make is believing that everyone wants to see us succeed. The reality is more complicated. Many people are comfortable with the version of you they can predict. They like the version that constantly seeks approval, apologizes for existing, and hesitates before making decisions. That version feels safe because it doesn't challenge anyone. But when you begin walking with confidence, setting healthy boundaries, and making choices based on purpose instead of fear, some people become uncomfortable, not because you've done something wrong, but because your growth reminds them of the changes they have avoided in their own lives. There is an old saying that deserves to be remembered: your growth will inspire some people and expose others. Read that again. Not everyone reacts to your progress for the same reason. Some feel motivated because your journey gives them hope. Others become defensive because your courage quietly reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. The difference isn't found in your success. It's found in their perspective. Imagine standing in front of a clear mirror. The mirror doesn't judge anyone. It simply reflects what is already there. If someone smiles, the mirror smiles back. If someone frowns, the mirror reflects that as well. Your growth can become like that mirror. Without saying a single word, it causes people to confront themselves. Those who are secure in who they are will celebrate your progress. Those who are filled with insecurity may feel uncomfortable because your life reflects possibilities they have been avoiding. This is why you should never build your identity on other people's opinions. Opinions change. People's moods change. Circumstances change. But your purpose should remain steady regardless of who applauds or who walks away. If your confidence depends on everyone agreeing with you, then your peace will disappear the moment someone criticizes you. Real confidence is built from within. It comes from knowing your values, trusting your journey, and understanding that not everyone has to approve of your path. Imagine a ship crossing the ocean. If the captain changed direction every time the wind shifted, the ship would never reach its destination. Instead, the captain adjusts the sails but never loses sight of the destination. Your life requires the same wisdom. Listen, learn, and remain humble, but don't allow every opinion to determine your direction. Your purpose is too valuable to be controlled by temporary voices. Another timeless truth says, not everyone who claps for you wants you to win, and not everyone who challenges you wants you to fail. That's why discernment is so important. Learn to look beyond words and pay attention to actions. A genuine friend tells you the truth with love, even when it's difficult to hear. A genuine mentor corrects you because they want to see you grow. At the same time, someone who constantly praises you without honesty may simply be trying to keep you comfortable instead of helping you become stronger. As you continue moving forward, you'll notice that your circle naturally becomes smaller. This isn't because you're becoming better than anyone else. It's because your priorities are changing. You no longer have time for constant drama, endless negativity, or relationships built only on convenience. You begin valuing peace over popularity, purpose over performance, and authenticity over approval. That may feel lonely for a season, but it is often the beginning of a healthier, stronger, and more meaningful life. Always remember this final truth: the right people will never fear your growth, they will grow alongside you. Don't waste your energy trying to convince everyone to understand your journey. The people who are meant to walk with you will recognize your heart, respect your boundaries, and celebrate your progress without feeling threatened by it. Keep growing with humility. Keep learning with an open heart. And never shrink yourself just to make others feel comfortable. God did not create you to fit into places that require you to hide your light. He created you to walk confidently in the purpose He has prepared for your life, one faithful step at a time. One of the greatest signs that your life is changing is not that your circumstances suddenly become perfect. It is that your mind begins to think differently. The situations that once pulled you into unnecessary arguments no longer seem worth your attention. The opinions that once controlled your emotions begin to lose their influence. You stop asking, "How can I make everyone understand me?" and start asking a much more important question: am I staying true to the person God is shaping me to become? That single shift changes everything. Most people spend their lives reacting. They react to criticism, to gossip, to rejection, and to every negative word spoken against them. They allow other people to decide whether they will have peace or anxiety on any given day. But there comes a moment when you realize something life-changing: if someone else can control your emotions, they can control your direction. The day you understand this is the day you begin taking your power back. Imagine a captain sailing across a vast ocean. He cannot control the wind, the waves, or the storms that suddenly appear on the horizon. If he spent all his time trying to stop the wind, he would never reach his destination. Instead, he focuses on something he can control: his hands on the wheel. He adjusts the sails, changes the angle of the ship, and keeps moving toward the destination. Life works exactly the same way. You cannot control every opinion people have about you, but you can control how you respond. And often, your response determines your future far more than the situation itself. There is a timeless saying that carries deep wisdom: you cannot stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest there. Negative thoughts, criticism, and disappointment may come into your life, but you don't have to give them permission to stay. You don't have to replay hurtful words over and over until they become part of your identity. You have the choice to acknowledge them, learn from them if necessary, and then let them go. Think about an archer aiming at a target. Before releasing the arrow, everything around him becomes quiet. His attention is fixed on one point. He isn't distracted by the crowd, the wind behind him, or the voices around him. If he allowed every distraction to steal his focus, the arrow would never reach its target. Your purpose requires the same level of focus. Every unnecessary argument, every piece of gossip, and every distraction pulls your attention away from where it truly belongs. This is why some people become confused by your silence. They expected you to defend yourself. They expected you to argue. They expected you to chase after their approval. But instead, you kept moving forward. At first, they may interpret your silence as weakness. Later, they begin to realize it was wisdom. There is a huge difference between someone who stays silent because they are afraid and someone who stays silent because they have nothing left to prove. Another powerful truth says, the strongest trees grow because they withstand the wind, not because they avoid it. Challenges will always exist. Difficult people will always exist. Misunderstandings will always exist. But every challenge also gives you an opportunity to strengthen your character. Every storm teaches you how deeply your roots have grown. If your peace disappears every time life becomes difficult, then your peace was never rooted deeply enough. But when your faith becomes stronger than your fear, you remain standing even while everything around you is shaking. Have you ever noticed that people often expect you to stay the same? They remember the version of you that was easily discouraged, easily offended, or constantly seeking acceptance. When they meet the new version of you, they don't always know how to respond. They keep using old methods, hoping for the same reaction, but nothing happens. It's like trying to open a door with a key that no longer fits the lock. The old patterns don't work because you are no longer the same person. Picture an eagle flying high above a violent storm. Down below, the rain is falling, the thunder is roaring, and the winds are fierce. But instead of fighting the storm, the eagle spreads its wings and allows the rising currents of air to lift it above the clouds. While everything below is filled with chaos, the eagle discovers peace by rising higher. That is exactly what wisdom allows you to do. Instead of being trapped inside every conflict, you rise above it. Instead of allowing negativity to pull you down, you use it as another reason to grow stronger. Always remember this: your greatest strength is not found in controlling other people. It is found in controlling yourself. When you master your thoughts, guard your heart, and stay focused on your purpose, you become difficult to distract and impossible to define by someone else's opinion. You begin living with a quiet confidence that doesn't need constant recognition because it is rooted in something much deeper than applause. It is rooted in character, faith, and the unshakable belief that God is leading your steps. And once you begin living from that place, no amount of noise around you can steal the peace within you. One day, without realizing it, you stopped fighting battles that were never yours to win. It wasn't because you became weak. It wasn't because you gave up. It was because you finally understood that not every conflict deserves your attention. Some people will always criticize. Some will always misunderstand you. Others will create stories about you simply because they cannot understand the direction your life is taking. But here's the truth that changes everything: when your purpose becomes greater than your pride, you stop wasting energy trying to correct every opinion. There was a time when you wanted everyone to like you. You wanted people to understand your heart, appreciate your intentions, and recognize your efforts. Every negative comment felt personal. Every rejection felt like proof that you weren't enough. But life has a remarkable way of teaching us that acceptance from everyone is impossible. Even the brightest light creates shadows. Even the strongest tree cannot provide shade for everyone. The moment you accept this reality, an incredible sense of freedom begins to replace the pressure you've been carrying. Imagine a traveler carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. At first, the weight doesn't seem unbearable. But as the journey continues, every step becomes harder. The traveler becomes exhausted, frustrated, and discouraged. Then someone asks a simple question: why are you carrying those stones? The traveler realizes that none of them are necessary. One by one, the stones are removed, and suddenly the same road feels easier to walk. Those stones represent the opinions, expectations, and unnecessary burdens you've been carrying for years. You were never meant to carry them. They belong to other people, not to you. There's an old saying that speaks directly to this moment: you cannot carry tomorrow's purpose while holding yesterday's weight. Growth often requires letting go before moving forward. You cannot embrace a new season while constantly looking back at old disappointments. Every lesson has its purpose, but once you've learned it, don't build your future around it. Carry the wisdom, not the pain. Have you noticed that some people become frustrated when they can no longer influence your decisions? It's because they became comfortable with the old version of you. They expected you to apologize for chasing your dreams. They expected you to feel guilty for setting healthy boundaries. They expected you to keep putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own peace. But now they see someone different. They see a person who listens carefully, thinks wisely, and makes decisions without seeking permission from everyone around them. That kind of confidence cannot be manipulated. Think about a gardener caring for a beautiful vineyard. Every season, the gardener trims healthy branches. To someone who doesn't understand gardening, it might look like the plant is losing something valuable. But the gardener knows the truth. Pruning is not punishment. It is preparation. By removing what no longer serves the plant, more energy is given to produce stronger fruit in the next season. Life works the same way. Sometimes certain relationships, habits, or environments leave your life not because you're losing, but because you're making room for something healthier to grow. Another timeless truth reminds us: what you refuse to release will eventually restrict your growth. Holding on to resentment drains your joy. Holding on to fear limits your courage. Holding on to unhealthy relationships steals your peace. There comes a time when letting go becomes an act of faith. Not because you know exactly what comes next, but because you trust that God cannot fill hands that refuse to open. Perhaps this is why your circle has become smaller. At first, it may have felt lonely. You questioned whether something was wrong. But over time, you began to understand that peace often arrives before popularity. A smaller circle filled with genuine encouragement is far more valuable than a crowd filled with hidden competition. Quality always matters more than quantity when it comes to the people who influence your life. Picture an eagle preparing to fly across a mountain range. Before taking off, it doesn't gather unnecessary weight. It doesn't carry extra stones or broken branches on its wings. Why? Because it understands that every unnecessary burden limits how high it can rise. In the same way, your future requires you to travel lighter than your past. Every unnecessary fear, every old regret, and every opinion you've allowed to define you becomes extra weight that keeps you from reaching the height God has prepared for you. Always remember this powerful truth: the people who are meant to walk with you into your future will never ask you to stay trapped in your past. The right people will encourage your growth, celebrate your progress, and respect the person you are becoming. They won't be threatened by your success or uncomfortable with your peace. They will recognize that your transformation is not about becoming better than others, it is about becoming the person God created you to be. So as you continue moving forward, don't be afraid to leave behind what no longer belongs in your life. Walk with confidence, not because every road will be easy, but because every step is leading you closer to your purpose. The greatest version of yourself is never found by carrying yesterday's burdens. It is discovered by trusting God enough to release them and stepping boldly into the future He has already prepared for you. There comes a moment when you realize that the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against other people, it is against the voice inside your own mind. Long before anyone doubted you, there were moments when you doubted yourself. Long before someone criticized your journey, there was a part of you wondering if you were truly capable of becoming the person you dreamed of being. That silent battle is one that almost everyone faces, yet very few people talk about it. The world often teaches us to conquer everything around us, but true transformation begins when we learn to conquer the fear, insecurity, and uncertainty within us. Think back to the person you were a few years ago. Remember how easily disappointment could steal your joy. Remember how quickly you questioned your worth after a failure or rejection. Every setback felt like the end of the story. But today, if you're honest with yourself, you can see how much has changed. You still face challenges, but they no longer define you. You still experience difficult days, but you no longer allow one bad moment to convince you that your entire future is falling apart. That is growth. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of greater strength. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To everyone else, it looks like nothing more than a rough stone. But the sculptor already sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of the chisel removes something unnecessary. The stone might believe it is losing pieces of itself, but in reality, it is becoming exactly what it was created to be. Life often works the same way. Sometimes God removes certain comforts, relationships, or opportunities not to punish you, but to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future. There is a powerful saying that reminds us, God is more interested in your character than your comfort. At first, that truth can be difficult to accept. We naturally pray for easier roads, fewer problems, and quicker answers. But what if the difficult road is the very thing preparing you for the blessing you've been asking for? What if the delay isn't denial but preparation? What if every obstacle is teaching you something that success alone never could? Consider how gold is refined. Raw gold is mixed with dirt, rock, and other impurities. It doesn't become valuable by remaining untouched. It becomes pure only after passing through intense heat. The fire doesn't destroy the gold, it reveals it. In the same way, life's challenges often expose qualities you never knew you possessed. Your patience grows because you've learned to wait. Your faith grows because you've learned to trust even when you couldn't see the outcome. Your courage grows because you kept moving forward despite your fear. Have you noticed that the strongest people are rarely the ones who had the easiest lives? They are often the people who have experienced loss, disappointment, failure, and uncertainty, yet refuse to let those experiences harden their hearts. Instead of becoming bitter, they became wiser. Instead of becoming angry at the world, they became more compassionate toward others. That is the kind of strength that cannot be taught in books. It is earned through experience. Another timeless truth says, a ship is safest in the harbor, but that is not what ships are built for. Staying inside your comfort zone may feel safe, but nothing extraordinary grows there. Your gifts, your purpose, and your potential are discovered only when you are willing to step into places that require faith. Every new season asks you to trust a little more than the last one. Every opportunity asks you to believe in yourself before the results are visible. Picture a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. To someone watching, the struggle seems unnecessary. You might even feel tempted to cut the cocoon open and make the process easier. But if you did, the butterfly would never develop the strength needed to fly. The struggle forces fluid into its wings, preparing it for the freedom ahead. Without that struggle, it would remain weak for the rest of its life. Your own challenges often serve the same purpose. They are strengthening parts of you that comfort never could. Perhaps you've been asking God, why is this taking so long? Maybe you've wondered why others seem to move ahead while your journey feels slower. But remember this, comparison is one of the quickest ways to lose sight of your own purpose. God is not writing the same story for everyone. Some flowers bloom in spring, others in summer, yet both are beautiful in their appointed season. Your timing does not determine your value. Your faithfulness does. Always remember this final truth: the person you are becoming is more important than the destination you are trying to reach. Success without character is temporary, but character creates success that lasts. So don't be discouraged by the seasons that challenge you. Don't lose hope when the path feels uncertain. Every lesson, every delay, every closed door, and every unexpected turn is shaping a stronger version of you. Trust the process. Trust the growth. Most importantly, trust that God is preparing you not just for a better future, but for the responsibility that comes with it. One day, you'll look back on this season and realize that what felt like your greatest struggle became the foundation of your greatest strength. Now that you've come this far, there is one final lesson you must never forget. Growth is not only about becoming stronger, it is also about protecting the person you have become. Many people spend years healing, learning, and building confidence, only to lose it because they return to the same habits, the same environments, and the same people who once held them back. Real transformation isn't proven by how high you climb, it's proven by what you refuse to go back to. Think about a traveler who has finally reached the top of a mountain after a long and difficult climb. Every step required determination. Every obstacle demanded patience. Standing at the summit, the traveler can see a view that was impossible to imagine from the valley below. Now imagine choosing to walk back down simply because the path feels familiar. That would make no sense. Yet many people do exactly that in life. They return to old mindsets because they are comfortable. They revisit old fears because they are familiar. They reconnect with negativity because it once felt normal. But you cannot step into a new season while living with an old mindset. One of the greatest truths you'll ever understand is this: your future is shaped more by your daily choices than by your biggest moments. It is easy to stay motivated for one day. It is much harder to remain faithful every single day when no one is watching. Character is built in ordinary moments, in the decisions you make when there is no applause, no recognition, and no reward except knowing you stayed true to your purpose. Imagine a farmer who carefully plants seeds in good soil. Every morning, he waters the field, removes the weeds, and patiently waits. But what if, every few days, he dug up the seeds just to check if they were growing? The harvest would never come. Growth requires trust. It requires patience. The same is true for your life. Stop doubting the progress you cannot yet see. Just because results are invisible today doesn't mean nothing is happening. Every wise decision, every act of discipline, and every moment you choose faith over fear is strengthening the future that is quietly taking shape. Another timeless saying reminds us, protect your peace as carefully as you protect your dreams. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your thoughts, your time, or your energy. Some people inspire you to become better, while others constantly pull you back toward who you used to be. Wisdom is learning the difference. You don't have to argue with everyone. You don't have to attend every battle you're invited into. Sometimes the strongest response is to keep walking toward your purpose without looking back. Picture an eagle soaring above the clouds. It doesn't waste its strength chasing every bird that flies beneath it. It knows its destination is higher than temporary distractions. If it stopped to fight every challenge along the way, it would never reach the height it was created for. In the same way, don't allow small conflicts, criticism, or negativity to pull you away from the life God is leading you toward. Keep your eyes on the vision, not the distractions. As you move into this next chapter of your life, remember that your journey is not about proving your worth to the world. It is about becoming faithful to the purpose placed inside your heart. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of uncertainty. But you are no longer the person who started this journey. You have gained wisdom through experience, strength through struggle, and peace through faith. Carry those gifts with gratitude. Always remember this final truth: the strongest people are not those who never face storms, they are the ones who keep walking even when the sky is dark. So keep moving forward with confidence. Guard your heart, protect your peace, and never allow yesterday's fears to steal tomorrow's possibilities. Your story is still being written, and if you continue walking with faith, humility, and courage, the best chapters are not behind you, they are still waiting to unfold. As we reach the final part of this journey, I want you to remember one thing above everything else: your story is still being written. No matter how difficult your past has been, it does not have the authority to decide your future. Too many people spend their lives believing they are defined by their failures, their disappointments, or the opinions others formed about them years ago. But every sunrise reminds us of a powerful truth: every new day is an opportunity to begin again. God is not asking you to live in yesterday. He is inviting you to walk confidently into the future He has been preparing for you all along. Think about an arrow before it is released. Before it can move forward, it must first be pulled backward. To someone who doesn't understand the process, it might look as though the arrow is moving away from its destination. But the tension isn't meant to stop it. The tension is preparing it for greater distance. Many seasons in your life have felt exactly like that. You experienced delays, setbacks, and moments where it seemed like everything was moving in the wrong direction. Yet those very moments were building the strength, wisdom, and faith you would need for what comes next. What looked like a setback was often God preparing the perfect launch. There is a powerful saying that reminds us, preparation often looks like delay until the right moment arrives. We live in a world that celebrates quick results, but lasting success is rarely built overnight. The strongest foundations are built slowly, one brick at a time. In the same way, your character has been shaped through every lesson you've learned, every challenge you've overcome, and every decision you've made to keep trusting even when you couldn't see the outcome. Imagine a sculptor creating a masterpiece from a block of stone. Day after day, he removes pieces that don't belong. To an observer, it may look as though the stone is losing something. But the sculptor knows every piece that falls away brings the masterpiece closer to completion. Sometimes God works the same way in our lives. He removes pride to teach humility. He removes fear to build courage. He removes distractions so you can focus on your purpose. What feels like loss today may actually be making room for something far greater tomorrow. Another timeless truth says, your greatest breakthrough often comes after your greatest test. This is why you must never quit during a difficult season. The hardest chapter is not always the final chapter. Some of the most meaningful moments in life arrive just after the moment you were tempted to give up. If you stop now, you'll never see what was waiting on the other side of your perseverance. Look at a bamboo tree. After it is planted, it spends years growing beneath the surface before anything significant appears above the ground. During that time, many people would assume nothing is happening. But underground, an incredible root system is being built. Then, when the time is right, the bamboo grows rapidly because the foundation is already strong. Your journey may feel slow at times, but never mistake hidden growth for a lack of progress. God often does His greatest work where human eyes cannot see. So don't become discouraged if your path looks different from someone else's. You were never called to live another person's story. You have your own purpose, your own timing, and your own assignment. The only comparison that truly matters is whether you are becoming stronger, wiser, kinder, and more faithful than you were yesterday. Every step you take in faith is a step toward the person you were created to become. As you leave this message today, carry this truth with you wherever you go. You are not defined by your past, your mistakes, or the opinions of other people. You are defined by your willingness to keep moving forward with faith. Keep your heart humble, your mind focused, and your spirit strong. Continue planting seeds of kindness, making wise decisions, and trusting God's timing even when the road ahead is unclear. One day, you'll look back and realize that every challenge, every delay, and every lesson was preparing you for a future far greater than you ever imagined. Your best chapter is not behind you, it is waiting just ahead. Keep walking, keep believing, and never stop becoming the person God created you to be. As we come to the end of today's message, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your journey is not about proving your worth to the world, it is about becoming the person God created you to be. Every challenge you faced has taught you something valuable. Every delay has strengthened your patience. Every disappointment has deepened your faith. Nothing you've experienced has been wasted. So, don't let fear keep you from your purpose, and don't let the opinions of others determine your future. Walk forward with confidence, protect your peace, and trust that God is guiding every step, even when you cannot yet see the destination. Remember, the strongest people are not those who never struggle, but those who refuse to stop growing through every season of life. If this message touched your heart, let me know in the comments by writing, "I choose faith over fear." I'd love to hear your thoughts and pray for your journey. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Chosen One Focus, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another message of hope, wisdom, and encouragement. Until next time, stay humble, stay faithful, keep moving forward, and may God bless you abundantly.